Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we got to look at the new Tier 7 British aircraft carrier Implacable. Denny Boyd running the show here. There's the ship. We got it all upgraded. Spent a bunch of green XP on this. Got the silver that we needed. Sea of Fortune domination game. We're going to be kind of covering one of the two main roles of the carriers in this game. Now, usually we talk about the two main strengths of the carriers being their ability to kind of permanently keep the destroyers lit, more or less. Sure, they can disengage when they pop the smoke, but that'll run out sooner or later. And then, assuming the carrier is still focusing on them, they can keep them spotted, and then it's up to the team to shoot them. But then the other main strength of this is kind of the ability to quickly spot any area of the map for your team. And we're going to see that come into play in the second half of the match here. But first off, we're going to be keeping an eye on the destroyer. We got one destroyer per team, one carrier per team. Now, our role, first and foremost, is to help spot for the team. At least give our team some semblance of an idea how the red team's deploying. That'll give them the intelligence data that they are needing, and hopefully they can therefore utilize it. Now we can either keep A permanently spotted and hope that the destroyer kind of spots the sea side, or we're actually going to be spotting / looking for the destroyer. And since we see 3 ships deploying off to the west here, that's the first group of 3. We know the destroyer's not in the area. Also pursuing this torpedo bomber. He's kind of doing the same maneuver we are. We're kind of moving through the mid of the map now, seeing if that destroyer snuck up the middle here. But I'm also kind of chasing that plane down because I do want to drop the fighter down there. The fighter's another huge part and underrated aspect of the carriers. If you're putting your own fighters near the enemy carriers' planes, they will shoot them down very quickly. It took a little while for me to realize just how powerful the fighters are, but they're probably the biggest and most effective counter to the enemy carriers' planes that you have on your teams, available to your team, that is. So we kind of scouted all the way horizontally through A, through the mid, and now we went through C. No destroyer. Okay, well, let's get something going here. We got an Alaska here. We got teammates shooting at them, and we'll go ahead and drop these HE bombs. Now, this is kind of the specialty of the British aircraft carriers. We got huge, I don't know how many bombs they drop actually, but it's a lot of bombs, and it covers a wide area. And so these are effective for hitting targets. It's easier to hit these than normal HE bombs, and I've been having success even doing things like dropping blindly into smoke. Just kind of, ooh boy, the enemy destroyer gets wiped by Arcagaro. Nice job there. But if you got like a destroyer sitting in the smoke, you'll see his AA emanating from there, assuming someone on their team can see your planes, which often is the case. And then, you can kind of judge, okay, this is roughly where that AA is emanating from. Now, I find that very hard to hit those type of shots with normal HE spreads, but these ones, you got enough of coverage that I've actually done it more than once in the handful of games I've played in this thing. So I think that's kind of the main strength here. I think the British carriers, that's the best thing they do, is kind of bomb destroyers. The torpedoes, I'll go over the stats later in the game when we got a lull. But very slow. I didn't even realize how slow these are. Extremely slow. In fact, I think they're like 39 knots or something. What are they at? Let's see. Yeah, 39 knots, 2.4 kilometer range. The Alaska goes down mid-run, so we quickly adjust target there into the battleship behind them. I think it's a Grober. Whatever it is, we get one strike on him there, and we managed to get the flood. Now he puts the flood out, uses the damage con, so we cycled his damage con, giving our team about a minute to hit him with HE, stick him with a permanent flood. So I'm thinking, okay, we've cleared C, right? We got the destroyer that was over there, we got the cruiser, we got our destroyer right on C. Okay, we've kind of cleared the way. Now let's go over here and see if we can help this side, because this is kind of developing into Red's strong side. They got a huge force moving into A here. They kind of didn't push as aggressively as I would have liked to see them from the red team's perspective, but nevertheless, they slowly are pressing their advantage and attempting to capture the base. So we're looking at options here. I'm thinking, okay, maybe Yamato. That's a popular ship to shoot at for most players. They are afraid of it and they want to kill it. So I'm thinking maybe we'll go ahead and see if we can get a little bit of damage going on. Maybe stick them with fire or two, help our team along there. But we're going to be, as we're kind of dealing with the side, we're going to repeatedly evaluate the targets. We don't want to be focused on one thing here. We want to be constantly checking who's our team shooting at, what's the HP situation like, because when we're in a mode like this where we're essentially just dealing damage for the moment, we want to be assisting the team in the most beneficial way, and that's often compounding the damage that's going out by the other surface ships and trying to get the targets off the board as quickly as possible. So that's the thinking approaching the Amato, and he's on one end or the other. I think on the other end of the pack there's a Vlad, but these ships are really tightly grouped, and you can see every time we attack them we're getting multiple streams of AA coming in from every direction. So not very easy to attack these ships in this position. That's why we're kind of trying to favor the ships on the edge as opposed to going right in the middle of that pack where we're going to have 4 ships simultaneously shooting us. So you see there we're continuing to evaluate all the HP. Amato's pretty low. We do note that the Vlad's pretty low there. And we notice, okay, why was the destroyer that was sitting on C, he got off of it inexplicably. I'm sure he left to try and torp that battleship, but that's kind of a boneheaded play. So the reliability of our friendly destroyer now has been demonstrated to be on the low end of the spectrum. We would rate that type of a play as unreliable, and therefore we will no longer depend on him for anything during the match. If he does something useful, that'll be a bonus, but we got to be assuming we're going to be taking the main role in terms of spotting and kind of game management and doing our best that we can here. So here we go. We got the Vlad low, and note how close we got there. Once again, these torps are pretty slow. Do get him with a couple shots there, hit him with the flood, and boom, down he goes there. So that's what we're talking about. We, rather than just focus on the Amato, which, we kind of guessed that people would focus on him, but they ended up shooting the Vlad first. We recognized that, switched our focus, and then what the heck happened there? I don't... We're attempting to attack the Grober, and the whole squad disintegrated in 2 seconds. I didn't understand it when I was playing it live. I don't understand it watching it back now. Continuing to readjust our position. Of course, we're pulling up the main scoreboard, using that map to select an auto destination, constantly trying to keep our team in between us and the Reds. And because our team's kind of driven them off of the eastern flank there's really nothing in the C column at this point in time. So we're going to try and get over there. Red continues to press aggressively, and that's the Odin north of him. You can see we're going over there to try and help the Odin out right now. Trying to do our best to keep this guy alive because he's kind of the last thing between these guys and ourself, the carrier. And you can see we've already taken a couple vicious shots. We're already down to half health this game. So we've got to be focusing on our position and trying to focus on trying to keep alive here. Now we're going to be pinging the Prince Eugene and attacking him ourselves. What's the thinking here? Well, cruiser, our HE bombs are going to be doing the most damage against these cruisers compared to the battleships. A lot of times you'll get some damage on the battleships. I see a lot of strikes, 2,000-3,000 damage. That one wasn't much better there, but we do get the fire on them there. And luckily, we do have a teammate basically stacked on us on the map. He's going to be chiming in with the guns. A lot of guys kind of turning around, addressing the advance from the red here, which is nice. The Grosser Kurfürst does go down, and that'll free up the entire eastern side of the map. So a good thing that we were going over that way. That'll keep us alive easier. And you might, even if the ships themselves aren't that close to your carrier, as long as the enemy carrier is always, if he's alive at any point in time, he might decide to himself, I'm just going to go spot that carrier. And then, the red ships who've been bombing the whole match, they're going to be like, well, payback's a B, and they'll try and sink you about as quick as they can. So that's why you always want to be focusing on what's going on around you. Suzuya does go down, unfortunately, but the Eugen here, we continue to try and attack him. Now, we're going to begin to kind of enter a spotting phase here of the game. I can't remember if we strike him one more time or not, but for the next while, we're just going to basically be keeping these guys at range, making sure we're not inside their AA bubble, but we're going to keep them lit. Maybe we're the ones spotting those battleships and the cruiser, maybe not, but we know for sure we can see these guys. So, just being in this area, keeping them lit. Because the cruiser, if he's not firing his guns, his detection will drop, and there's a decent chance that he's not going to get spotted here. So to make sure that these guys are always on our friendly guys' team, their TV screens, we'll just sail around them or fly around them, make sure we're not getting shot. And part of the reason we're doing this is strategic. We want to keep these targets lit. The other part is we're getting low on planes. And we'll kind of jump into the stats here as we're looking at the spotting here. Restoration on the torpedo bomber, 69 seconds. Compare that to the lowest Shikaku, 58. But most of them are like 65 seconds. So the longest restoration time on here, really super long on the HE bomber, 77 seconds compared to 62 on all the others on my build. So I'm not 100% sure what the thinking of that is. These are kind of low damage uh, planes to begin with. Now, I haven't done the stats on the tier 5, but when I was playing that one earlier, I felt like those planes were regenerating very quickly. So I was kind of expecting that going into this one, but now that we've done a little bit of a deeper dive, looking at what's going on here, kind of surprising that they made that design choice to extend the restoration time. And I think that needs to probably be reduced. Like we said, extremely low torpedo speed, 39 knots. I hope that's a typo on the stats page because that's ridiculous. The other ones are 50, 52, 58, and we have very short range, 2.4. Good speed. Only the Germans are clocking in faster than these guys, at least on the torpedo bombers. The HE bombers, the Shikakus, are actually faster than this as well, but they're still faster than the Americans. So kind of bizarre design choices. Fire chance, I think it's lower because there's probably a lot more HE bombs. Again, I don't know how many there are, but 33% chance here compared to 54 on the Americans, 55 on the Japanese. Parseval, of course, no fire chance with the AP bombs on that one. So you got kind of low damage across the board. We do have pretty decent HP on the planes, it's looking like. In fact, kind of best at the class across the board. So I guess that's one of the strengths, good speed like we noticed or mentioned. And, you know, the torpedo damage low end too as well, just actually right around the Parsevals in terms of damage. So low damage output across the board, but it is what it is. We'll see if there's ever an adjustment on here. Jumping back into the game now, we've eliminated everyone but the carrier, and at this point in time we're just kind of going to where we're guessing he is. You know, we haven't seen him all game, but we're going to try, and we should be doing a little bit better job keeping an eye on things. I'm keeping an eye on the map, looking for evidence of where the planes are coming to or from. You know, you'll see the planes return if they don't all get shot down, or we'll kind of see them when they get spotted, and we'll see what direction they're coming in, and we'll evaluate from there. But we're moving close enough to the southwest now where we're beginning to suspect probably not over there. And then there's the clue, the torpedoes heading back towards the Conqueror, who's the biggest threat to the carrier. So now we know roughly the carrier should be dead ahead, and now we see the bomber actually landing. So we know it's basically about 6 kilometers right in front of us. So rather than attack him, we're just going to do the same thing we did before, keep him lit, because we want that Conqueror to basically blast his ass. Okay, so it kind of defies logic. I mean, it's not as exciting, but it's more valuable. And if you're trying to speed up the end of the game, you know, where everybody hates these ends where we're chasing a destroyer off into the nether regions of the world, or the carrier now, it kind of slows down the ending of a game that we're already clearly going to win. But if we just sail around or fly around here, keeping them lit, our teammates, they'll get in range, they'll shoot them. That'll end the game much quicker, okay? If we decide to drop him, maybe we get a strike off, maybe 2 strikes, and then we get shot down. Then we have to fly from all the way back on the other side of the map. That's when you get these late game situations where the carrier will be spotted for 30 seconds, and then he'll be unspotted for another minute and a half, and then all of a sudden 30 more seconds while all the other ships are trying to get over there. So it's just kind of slows things down. Another reason to do this, but it's another good demonstration of what we can be doing as these the planes, right? The carrier player. We don't always have to be trying to deal damage. This is just as valuable. Supposedly you get some credit for spotting damage, and that's damage that the ships take that they wouldn't be able to take but for the fact that you're lighting them up for the team. That needs to be adjusted upwards, because we're going to wind up in the middle of the pack on the scoreboard this game. I'm not going to say it's the greatest carrier game known to man, but I think it's a pretty good game, and I think we should be rewarded a little bit more than we wind up being, and I think most carrier players would agree with that assessment. A little bit low on the XP rewards. So anyway, we go ahead and take them out, and that'll do it. And that's the look at the Implacable for you guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, well, consider subscribing. We've got lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.